Welcome back to News 4 at 11. Tonight, a very special story I've been working on for you. It is the story of a South Florida man spared an almost unspeakable tragedy. He was among a lucky group of babies who lived to talk about that tragedy. And in sharing his story with us of the Butterbox babies, something remarkable happens. It's a story I am very proud to bring you.
In the back there was a bunch of crates, little tiny crates with little babies in them, and I questioned. And reluctantly I was told these were syphilitic babies or unadoptable babies, and they left them there to die.
The survivor title came to all of us when we found out the history of the home. That so many babies that were born there at random either didn't survive or weren't allowed to survive.
It was called the ideal maternity home, and for many, it was the ideal place. It seemed like the perfect solution to an imperfect problem, a place for unwed mothers to have their babies in secret, a place where childless couples, most from the United States, could come to find precious little treasures to raise as their own. This warm, cozy publicity shot was to advertise to the world all that was good about the ideal maternity home. There was nothing in here about the bad, and yet there was plenty bad. Bea Outnew now lives in South Florida, but back in 1947, Bea and Sydney Outnew were living in New York. They traveled to Halifax, Nova Scotia, to the ideal maternity home for just one thing, to adopt a beautiful little girl. Bea was there for 2 weeks, long enough to see what was really going on inside the ideal maternity home.
The babies that were remaining there were kept in a crib, were kept on the floor, were never loved, never hugged, were never spoken to.
And this man was one of those babies, never loved, never hugged, and never spoken to. He is now Dade County Judge Lenny Glick, born at the ideal maternity home May 4th, 1944.
My mother-in-law happened to walk by the crib, and Lenny grabbed her skirt, and she just was like so taken that she went back a second time, and he grabbed her skirt again, and she knew that this would be the child.
Lenny Glick would be among the lucky ones. It's estimated that hundreds of babies here at the ideal maternity home were left to die. Those babies were called imperfect babies. Any child who had a disability, any child who was racially mixed, those were considered the babies who didn't deserve to live. Lenny Glick was not racially mixed. He was not really handicapped, but he was an older child, and that too was a problem. By the time Lenny was adopted, he had no left eardrum. He couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, and he was covered in rashes. Lenny Glick was showing all the signs of a baby who was about to starve to death. Lenny Glick remembers none of this. Bea Outnew does.
In the back there was a bunch of crates, little tiny crates with little babies in them, and I questioned. And reluctantly, I was told these were syphilitic babies or unadoptable babies, and they left them there to die. It was the saddest thing I ever saw. And these babies, I guess, eventually did die because they were never fed or anything.
They were buried in boxes like this from the LaHave Creamery. Those boxes were used to cart butter to the local store. They were called Butterbox babies because it was believed some of them were starved to death, buried in the boxes used to store butter, and tossed in mass graves. Judge Lenny Glick is a Butterbox baby survivor.
And that's why these people, like myself, who know about this situation, who went back to Canada for this reunion and the dedication of the monument, they refer to themselves, and we do, as survivors, because you really are a survivor. It's a matter of luck.
Luck and love. Lenny's adoptive parents died without ever telling him he was adopted. Always, they treated him as their own.
The bottom line is, to the day they both passed away, they never told me that I was adopted, and I never told them that I found out. As long as I've known that I've been adopted, I've been very indifferent to doing anything about it. Never wanted to actually pursue it.
Until now, News 4 travels to Nova Scotia and comes back with a story that will change his life forever. What an incredible honor to be able to tell someone's story. I don't have a story worth telling, but Judge Glick, you do. It must be kind of strange to sit on your couch and watch someone else tell your story. I just hope you and your wife, Diane, are enjoying it so far. Tomorrow night, join us as we learn more about Judge Glick's past and his future. That's tomorrow night on News 4 at 11. Please join me. News 4 is coming right back.